Salvete discepoli. In this video, we're going to be talking about third declension adjectives. And so first, just a quick little review of the third declension itself, the third declension endings from when we did third declension nouns, but then also a little review of first and second declension adjectives, because some of those rules you learned about adjectives in the first and second declension, they're still going to apply in the third declension. So first, just a quick little review of the third declension endings for the nouns. It goes various is ema, various is ema, various is ema, singular third declension, ace, ibus ace, ibus ace, ibus ace, ibus. So these were the endings of the third declension. Now, there are going to be some differences, right? There are going to be some differences with third declension adjectives and this third declension chart. This is only here as a reference. This is only going to get us started. Okay, so when we did the first and second declension adjectives, the endings that you learned from the first and the second declensions from nouns, they were the exact same. So it was very straightforward. Learning one means you pretty much learned the other. Learning the nouns means you pretty much learned the adjectives. Here in the third declension, having learned the nouns, third declension nouns, means you have a start for learning the adjectives. Okay. And what else did we learn? We learned that from first and second declension adjectives that an adjective has to agree with the noun that it is describing in case, number, and gender. And so when we saw dictionary forms of first and second declension adjectives, they looked like this. They looked like Magnus That makes sense, right? Because we could have Magnus or any of the us's, us, e, o, o. We could have Magna or any of the first declension endings, I, and we had Magnum or any of the second declension neuter, e, o, or is, is, right? So we had Magnus they had three different parts to the dictionary form. It all made sense. That was a first and second declension adjective. But let's take a look at our model word, gravis, grave. Gravis, and the is our ending on gravis, so the stem is grav, and so when we see this e, we say grave, gravis, grave. This has two parts to the dictionary form. Now, this looks a little bit more like maybe a noun with two parts to the dictionary form. But remember how nouns had the first in their dictionary form, like if you see servus, servus, servi, that's the nominative, and this is the genitive. Is that what's going on here? Is this the nominative and this the genitive? No, because we learned that the genitive of third declension is is. That is not what's going on here. Let me tell you, let me start this this video, the meat, or at least the meat and potatoes of this video, by telling you what the dictionary form even means. Gravis tells us, okay, that the is for the nominative, and grave is also for the nominative. But this gravis is for masculine and for feminine words. And this grave is for neuter words. So we have masculine and feminine, and we have neuter here. Masculine and feminine are going to be identical for most third declension words. Okay? Now, I want to tell you here, most third declension adjectives are like gravis, grave. So when you learn to decline gravis, grave, and some of the other words that are in our vocab, you'll know how to decline most, but not all, third declension adjectives. So there will be, in a different video, there will be some variation to this, okay? But this is most third declension adjectives. Okay, so, and I also said that this is going to be the start for helping us fill in our endings, but it's not going to be, it's not just going to be as simple as, okay, now go and fill them in. Remember I stems from the third declension. Do you remember them? We could tell if a word was going to be an I stem by if it had the same number of syllables in the nominative and the genitive form. So colus, colus, each with 2 syllables, that's an I stem. And or if the stem ended in a consonant cluster, then it could also be an I stem. And what was different about I stems? Do you remember? Instead of it was ium. Okay? Here, we don't include ium in the song. We just say and we know that some have ium instead. But with third declension adjectives, all third declension adjectives are I stems. Okay? And that's going to mean that grav, which is our stem, I'm going to go ahead and fill grav in. And then I'm going to switch colors. So we know third declension has to end in is, so we have gravis again. So gravis is the nominative, but it's also the genitive, and that's nothing new. We've seen nouns like that before where the nominative and the genitive were the same. Colus, colus, for example, was one of those. So all third declension adjectives are I stems, which means instead of gravum, it's going to be gravium. It's going to be gravium. And from this, we can go ahead and we can fill in the rest of our endings. In fact, they're also listed here on page 16. There is the conjugate, or the declension, rather, of gravis, grave. These are the singulars, these are the plurals. But when we do it, we have to do it in 3 different charts because we have to do one for each gender. Now, if you look, the masculine and the feminine, they're exactly the same. They're just listing out all 3 because I guess this is the first time that you're seeing it, but I'm doing it in 2 because masculine and feminine are the same. Okay, so we're going to use the chart for the rest. Gravi, gravem, and then what else is different? Various is em a. Oh, it's gravi again here for the ablative. Gravi. Sometimes you'll see grave if it's needed in poetry to kind of achieve the right sound, but only in poetry and only in order to achieve the right sound sometimes. So sometimes you will see grave, but it's gravi like most of the time. So that's another difference for adjectives. The ablative is always going to have that I, not that e. Okay? What do we have here? Graves, gravium, because it's an I stem. Gravibus, graves, gravibus. And again, that's for masculine and for feminine. Now, over here we have a neuter. And when we learned neuter nouns, we learned the neuter rule. And the neuter rule applies to adjectives as well. So since we have grave in the nominative, we're going to need grave again in the accusative because the nominative and the accusative have to be the same. Okay. So we have gravis, gravi, grave again. here so that we can have nominative and accusative be the same, and then gravi, sometimes grave. Now, instead of ace, we have an ending a for feminine, for neuter words. Except, here's another I stem difference, okay? Another I stem difference that you're going to need to know while we're doing third declension. Instead of just grava, it's going to be gravia. The I shows up in the nominative plurals where in the nominative and the accusative. So that means these are going to both be gravia, only for the neuter. Here we're going to have gravium again, because that's another I stem difference. And then we're going to have gravibus for our other ones. And so this is how the adjective gravis grave and adjectives like it are declined. So just to draw attention to where all the differences are for I stems, we have the ablative, which is different. We have the genitive plural, which is ium. And so there's not too many differences over here, but over on the neuter side, we have our gravi again, and then we have our gravia. It's not new that they end in A and that they're the same, but it is new that they're IA. And then we have our gravium again. So look at all of these little differences that we have apart from the various SEMA song. That's kind of a lot. So what does gravis grave mean? Gravis grave means sometimes different things. It means heavy. It can be a thing that weighs a lot. It can be heavy. It can be severe. So a heavy consequence or a severe consequence are kind of the same thing. So that's sort of the same in English. It's heavy, severe, or can also mean serious. So you can be in serious danger. And that's, of course, where we get the word grave from. Not grave like what you're buried in, but grave danger. That means serious danger. And so grave is a derivative that you may use. Now, your book has quite a number of derivatives for third declension adjectives. Quite a lot. Let me flip to them here. There we go. On page 83, life is brief. So brevis, breve. Oh, no, I guess I should show you the words first. You have brevis, breve, communis, commune. So this means short. It can be both short in terms of the length of something or the time. So just kind of like English. Communis, commune means common. Difficilis, difficile. Facilis, facile. Fortis, forte, brave or strong. They're the same word. Nobilis, nobile, noble or renowned. Omnis, omne means all or every. On the singular side, it means all, because like all of something. But on the plural side, anytime we're doing the plural side of the chart, it'll mean every something. So it can mean all of a singular thing, or it can mean every of a plural thing. Okay, and then here are some derivatives. You get quite a lot. Life is brief. We get the word brief from brevis, breve. The good of the community, I'm going to say you cannot use that as a derivative. That's too common of a word. So communis, commune for community. Fortified, you may use fortified. Do you fortify something? You make it stronger. God is omnipresent. So that means present in all places, omnipresent. And so even in English, we have omni meaning all. So that should be pretty easy. Or an omnivore, right, is I will let you use omnivore as well. Go ahead and write that. You might have occasion to use that as well. And then a grave matter, which I mentioned a short bit ago. Okay, so these are essentially four new derivatives for you to use since community won't count. And of course, neither will noble. That's a little too close and too easy. And in the next video, we will attempt some exercises with using third declension adjectives. All right, valete.